Welcome back to the kitchen at Andersen Acres. Today we are making a cookie that is light, delicious, and chocolatey. We are making orange chocolate cookies. These cookies are soft and tender and they melt in your mouth. They combine the delicate flavor of oranges with the sweetness of chocolate. This recipe, we're going to use a semi-sweet chocolate chip, but you can use milk chocolate, dark chocolate, or even white chocolate if that's your preference. If you're using white chocolate, you might even want to dye it a fun color for the holidays, if a holiday's coming up. So let's get started. The first thing we need to do is preheat our oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Not Celsius, 375 Fahrenheit. So then we are going to add into a large bowl half a cup of butter. You can use margarine if you like. I prefer butter. It just gives you a better flavor. But about half a cup of butter. And then you want to put 2/3 of a cup of just plain white sugar. Then we're going to cream that together. I'm going to turn the volume down while I do this because this is a loud mixer, but it's a good one. So cream it together. Good enough. Doesn't have to be completely creamy. It's fine. We are going to add 1 egg. I'm using a duck egg. You can use any egg you like, but if you have duck eggs, I'm telling you, duck eggs are fantastic for baking. So I'm using a duck egg. Then you want to do about a teaspoon of vanilla. You can go a little more than that, but don't go too much over that or they'll be overwhelmingly vanilla. Now we're going to blend that together until it's pretty smooth. It doesn't have to be perfectly smooth, but pretty smooth. Okay, next up, we are going to start adding some dry ingredients. We are going to start with flour. We're going to do 1 1/3 of a cup of just plain old flour. Okay, 1 1/3. Then we are going to add some baking powder. We want about a teaspoon. After that, we need some salt. You're going to add between 1/8 and 1/4 teaspoon. You don't need a lot of salt. You do need some. It serves to enhance that flavor, makes your cookie just that much tastier. Then we're going to do 2 tablespoons of orange zest. Just get it all in there. Then we're going to use our beaters a little bit before we switch to our hands. Here's where I switch to my hands. I prefer mixing cookie dough with my hands as opposed to with a mixer. So I like to get in there. I find it gives you a better consistency and it kind of tells you when to stop. And then you'll know if your dough is a little dry, like it's really dry here right now. So I probably have to add a little bit of milk because it's so dry out. Like I have no moisture in the air. So adding a little smidge of milk can help give you a more consistent dough. If you're noticing your cookie dough that you normally make and have no problems with is suddenly really dry, and you notice the humidity in your area is lower than normal, try adding just a tablespoon of milk to your batter. Your dough will just form up a little bit nicer. So don't worry about a dough that's a little bit drier. But also you can tell if it's too dry by squeezing, right? Like it's coming together much nicer in my hands, much faster. So yeah, I really do recommend taking your hands and getting them in there and really forming that dough with your hands. Okay, you don't want a dough that's liquidy, so if you don't have to, don't add anything extra. Like, I'm not gonna have to add anything extra. It's just, it's really dry. What is falling over? It's really dry here right now, so the possibility exists that I may have to add stuff to doughs in these humidities. There we go. There we go. That's our dough. I'm going to step away for a minute. Oops. I'm going to step away for a minute and wash my hands. Then we'll come right back. All right. Our cookie dough is looking good. What we need is my handy dandy cookie scoop. This just helps ensure that I'm getting roughly the same amount of dough per cookie. So what I'm going to do is use this. I'm using the teaspoon side and just make basically little balls. Okay, this dough should be so that it doesn't stick to your hands when you're making those balls. That's why it's a slightly drier dough, but it really shouldn't stick to your hands. You should be able to roll it like this and not have a bunch of cookie dough all over your hands. Okay, it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be all disgusting and difficult to handle. So if it is, you have too much moisture, add a little more flour. So we're just making these little balls. They're not going to spread very much. Okay. So just make these little balls. They're not going to spread very much, and we are going to press them. So this is a good time to find a glass. It could be a shot glass. It could be something that might have kind of a cool pattern on the bottom. Now, you don't have to do that. You can just use a standard glass or even your palm. But if you find something that has kind of a cool pattern on it, you might really be impressed with the final cookie. It's kind of a way to jazz up your cookies. So take a moment, go and find a glass that has a cool looking bottom. You probably have one. Check your shot glasses, because a lot of shot glasses have really cool bottoms. So definitely check your shot glasses. Okay, it's worth checking your shot glasses. So we're just going to finish grabbing dough for these little balls of deliciousness. This is basically just a sugar cookie with some orange flavoring. You could do this technique with a standard sugar cookie dough, as long as you have a sugar cookie dough that doesn't spread. If you have a dough that spreads a lot, like a snap dough, snaps spread a lot because they're meant to be big and like thin and crisp, so they're designed to spread. This dough is not designed to spread. So I'm getting like 15 cookies on here. You'll get about 2 dozen cookies or so out of this batch. Okay. All right. That only took a couple of minutes. Now we need a little plate of sugar, and this is the shot glass I'm using. So it has kind of a cool bottom. Okay, it's got kind of a neat looking bottom. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to take your glass, dip it in a little pile of sugar. You don't need much sugar. And just give it a press. Okay, you're not going very far. So this one I didn't really press far enough. So you can do whatever pattern your glass has, or you can just push it with your palm. Whatever you like. And then we're going to throw these in the oven gently. We're not actually throwing them, but then we're going to put these in the oven, and we're going to bake them for about 8 minutes. Okay. You want to not overbake. These will overcook really, really fast, and you'll end up with a cookie that is dry and gross. So 8 minutes at 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, remember, you can press these with your hand. Just press them any way you like, but they should end up about yay size, right? And they won't spread a ton. This dough does not spread. Okay, we're going to pop that in the oven. I'm going to set a timer for 8 minutes. Have a cooling rack standing by. All right, my 8-minute timer just went off. We're going to grab the cookies out of the oven. We're going to put them on our cooling mat. We are now going to set a timer for 2 minutes. That is so very important. Okay, that 2-minute timer is really important. Why is it so important? That's a good question. It's because these are not fully cooked. If I start pushing them in the center, they will not be solidified yet. Now I also need spatula. I use this one because my really thin one is currently in the dishwasher, which is running in the background. But if you let these solidify for 2 more minutes, which is not a ton of time, just a little bit of time, you let these solidify for 2 minutes, they will be thoroughly cooked. You just want to let them finish cooking on the pan. Literally, you set a timer for 2 minutes. That's what we're doing. So we're just going to speed this part up. All right, our timer just went off. We are now going to grab these and put them on the cooling rack. They have to cool completely because we're going to make basically a chocolate glaze to dip them in. And that's only going to work if they're cooled completely. If you start trying to dip hot cookies, you're going to end up with just a mess. So let these cool and solidify. While they're cooling, it really doesn't take that long for them to cool. But while they're cooling, we are going to prepare our chocolate glaze for dipping. Okay? Get these off of here. Set those aside for cooling. We're now going to remove our cookie tray. I'm just going to go put it on the stove. You can, at this point, fill it up with more cookies with your leftover dough, that kind of thing. But we'll just move on. Move our hot pads and get rid of our glove. So now we have to make the glaze. So what we're going to do is I have a little chocolate melter. Okay, it's just basically a warmer, a pot, and a lid. I'm going to plug that in so it starts heating up, and I'm going to add my glaze ingredients. So there's only 3 ingredients in this glaze. Here we go. First is about a 1/4 cup of butter. Okay, you don't need too much. And yes, I have to make more butter today. That's fine. That's what we'll do later. Okay, 1/4 cup of butter. And to that, we are going to add about a cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips. Again, you can use milk chocolate or dark chocolate if you prefer. And then I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of white corn syrup, light corn syrup. I'm using this brand. This is my favorite brand. This will just help make a glaze. Without the corn, could you leave the corn syrup out? Sure. It just won't turn out the way you're hoping if you leave the corn syrup out. So I really do recommend the corn syrup. So we are going to stick the lid on, get ourselves a small plate and a spoon, which I should have grabbed before, and I just gotta ease past our portable dishwasher. We have an old farmhouse, so we don't have space for a regular dishwasher unless I rip apart the kitchen, which I'm not gonna do right now. So we have a portable dishwasher that when it's on, you have to kind of scoot around. Anyway, we are going to let this melt. It's already heating up. My little light is on. We are going to let that turn into glaze. By the time that's fully turned into glaze, these will be cool enough to dip. So we will come back when that is all melted and we're ready to dip. While you're waiting for your glaze to melt, get yourself some wax paper or some kind of silicone liner or somewhere to put the dipped cookies. All right, so we will come right back when this is ready. All right, our chocolate is melted and our cookies are cool. So this is a really simple process. You just take your cookie, dip, pull out, let any excess kind of slip off, turn any little bits underneath like that, and pop it on a mat to dry. And you just keep doing that until you run out of cookies or you get tired of dipping. So you can take however long you want. You don't have to dip your cookies. Okay, you don't have to, but I happen to be. And it's good to, I'm using silicone mats, but you don't have to. You can use wax paper. Okay. There we go. I'm just going to plug the chocolate melter back in. I had unplugged it because it was getting a little bit warm. My chocolate melter does not have actual temperature control. It's either on or off. So sometimes I like to unplug it. And when you're dipping your cookies, okay, when you're dipping your cookies, you definitely want to hang on to them. Now, the other thing you can do if you don't want to dip them the way I am is you can drop them straight in like that and then lift them up, okay? You probably have to give them a little bit of a push down, and you are going to get chocolate on your fingers that way. So you can cover the top if you'd rather, but I like to actually cover half the cookie. So that's what I do, okay? And these do take a couple of hours to dry. So we are going to have to come back after these guys are a little bit dry because they do take time. So another good method for dipping, you can put it in and then tilt it forward if you're worried that you're not getting enough chocolate on the top. And don't forget to take your spoon and give it a mix every now and then, okay? So your chocolate doesn't separate or anything. And then you just keep going. You just keep taking your chocolate dudes, getting them in there, dipping them however much you like, and just go till you have no more cookies. Okay? The other thing you can do at this stage is you can add some sprinkles. Not everyone is going to want sprinkles, and that's fine. So only do sprinkles on some of them if you have people who don't like sprinkles. So I like sprinkles, so I'm going to put some sprinkles on these ones. Give them a little press into that chocolate. Here and there, I'm just going to add some sprinkles to some of them. You certainly don't have to. So I'm just going to add some sprinkles for the ones I want to have sprinkles. But I'm only adding sprinkles to a few. But this is the time to add them. So you can add fancy sprinkles. You can add sprinkles that are seasonal. You can add whatever sprinkles you have in your cupboard. We all have sprinkles in our cupboard, right? So you can just add whatever you like, and it'll work out nice. I'm just picking these sprinkles up. So I'm going to continue dipping. Then we're going to let these sit, and then we will come back and take a look at them when they are all done, because they do take a couple of hours to set. So keep your dogs away because they're going to want to eat them. At least my dogs always do. But just let them set until they're completely dry. Again, it's depending on the temperature in your home. It's going to take a couple of hours. You can speed up the process if you stick them in the fridge. So if you're annoyed that the process is taking too long, consider the fridge. It'll help. It'll speed up the process a little bit. Not a ton, but it'll speed up the process enough that you won't be quite so annoyed by how long it's taking. So, yep, stick them in the fridge if you need to. We'll come back when these have all solidified. And there you have it. Perfectly delicious orange chocolate cookies all ready to serve. Do remember to let them cool completely before you start dipping them in chocolate, or the cookies themselves are going to fall apart. That's about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. Drop a comment below if you enjoyed making orange chocolate cookies with us today. We'll see you tomorrow.